And hello, everyone out there. And to the little puppies.
Hey, hi everybody.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's a surprise stream. We haven't gone away.
Yep, not
We've
entirely.
not entirely.
Uh,
We've been extremely busy. Um, and
so
unfortunately, had to take a little hiatus. But we're back for the holidays. We're gonna
and
do a special little
and now we're
holiday
back
stream here and
from
catch
outer
up.
space.
How you doing, Dan?
Not too bad actually.
Feel like I haven't
Well,
seen you
well,
in like
I know
36 hours.
days. I know. Recovered finally from C2E2. I
Yeah.
didn't think that was gonna happen. Actually, I was so wiped
Uh,
out.
it's been a while since Dan has had back-to-back conventions. We were both at Emerald City in Seattle 2 weeks ago, and this
I've
past
usually
weekend in
I,
Chicago.
I learned I learned my lesson not to do that.
As opposed to me, who did about 10 shows in 12 weeks from
Yeah,
August through October, and then just basically collapsed in November.
yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah. But I
And how
had
were those
fun.
back to back? How were those back to back conventions?
The back-to-back-to-back conventions were great.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
did I do four back to back? It might have been four in there. I can't
that's
remember.
insane.
But there were definitely times, going through the airport, you're just like waiting, you're trying to figure out where you're going,
Yep.
and the intercom would be like now boarding Portland at gate 30, and you're like,
You're like,
wait, am I supposed to be
I,
there? Where am I?
yeah. Did I go to Portland already? Yeah. What day
Yeah.
is it? Uh,
Especially when you get those layover flights and you're like, okay, I have a layover in a convention city that I was just at. I was just in
yeah.
Dallas, but I have a layover in Dallas.
Everything's starting to blend together.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that the the Seattle show is always my bear. That's the one that's like just so hard for me because there's a 3 hour time difference.
oh yeah, the time difference.
I go from one time zone, I cross over two different time zones, and everyone stays up crazy late. So I just remember us being at the Airbnb, and at one point
Oh
it was
yeah,
like 4 a.m. or some or 2 a.m. at
Seattle
over there,
time.
right? Which meant that for me it was 6 o'clock in the morning, or like five
Five
o'clock
eight
in the
five
morning.
five o'clock in the morning.
I was so exhausted and couldn't figure out why I was ready to just face plant, and
Yeah.
everyone else is like going strong. I was like, I hate you all right now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that was
when you start nodding and you're holding a paintbrush loaded with color and
yeah,
water, that's when you know it gets a little dangerous there.
yeah. So the topic of today's conversation is social media, um,
Yes.
and trying and staying social, which is kind of funny because
Because
I know for me personally,
it's
I have
hard.
vanished over the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's been
Due to
tough.
work obligations and everything else,
Hmm.
I've basically just been a total hermit, um, on purpose. I didn't have anything that I could share. My workload was kind of out of control, and the number of things that had to be completed for publishers and everything else was just really, I mean, I've never done that level and that
Hmm.
amount of work in such a short period of time.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. Yeah, I was privy because even though we were off of kind of like slow on social media there, like we were
right.
still chatting behind the scenes, and the amount of work and edits and everything else that you were up to was pretty crazy.
It was unbearable. To the point that like I finally had a breaking point and just had to, buckle down and again stay off social media, which is something that you and I know is kind of uh, like it's almost like online death
It is.
because
It's a challenging.
you go into like a moratorium for a little while. Once you haven't posted in like a month on most of the platforms that are Facebook using the Facebook algorithm,
Hmm.
Um, After that month long, you watch your drop off of your audience become kind of like it starts to compound.
Right.
Um, like if you did a study and actually looked at your engagement, you can just watch it trickle, and then suddenly when you hit that month mark, it's like face plant. It just goes straight
Mm.
down. I remember posting something after like 3 or 4 weeks, and my the number of likes were at like right around 1,000, but when I started, and then it went to like I think somewhere around 120.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and then you go back into the engagement and how many people actually saw your post, and it was like
mhm.
no one saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
So yeah,
if you are falling off, it's important to like
yeah,
try to post something. One
yeah,
of the things that I was trying to do, even though like I was, it was tough for me as well to kind of post. I had a couple of weeks where I was, you know, unable to post for whatever reason. But one of the things I try to do is at least post stories on Instagram
yeah.
or.
Stand by.
Oh, you got delivery.
It's the holiday, and we have tons of packages arriving at the house. Give me one moment.
What one of the things was, posting more stories, forwarding, and um, retweeting, and just kind of finding other ways to make sure that you have some activity on your social media.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you have to kind of build it all back up again.
yeah. It's like starting from scratch. Like I started to post something after C2E2 because it just dawned on me when I was sending a note to my art rep. I was like, hey, check out all the stuff I did at C2E2. There were like 15 to 20 pieces that you know I took photos of people holding up at C2E2. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of art.
Right.
um, and I think I slept mostly 3 hours each night, and Emerald City was not much different.
No,
I mean,
Emerald City was just as tough. Emerald City was a 4 day convention.
we
Um,
worked our butts off. Yeah,
yeah. One of the things that helps me a little bit was actually using using other third party tools,
yeah,
and then the big thing is reusing. It's okay to reuse uh, posts that have done well in the past. You know,
yeah.
um, so you don't always have to
So
be creating new work.
yeah,
People feel like every post has to be something new and current, but
you mean
sometimes
like
you can't play that game.
yeah, posting stuff that you have previously posted or
Yeah, yeah, stuff that
yeah,
from a year ago or 6 months ago or something like that. And it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna,
yeah,
especially if it coincides, because like the Spider-Man, well, the Venom was one that I did, I think, decently well when the Venom Carnage movie was coming out. I wasn't gonna, I didn't have time. That was right in the middle of my 10 shows in 12 weeks sort of a thing. And like, unless someone asks me for a commission to do Carnage or Venom, like I'm not going to be able to do it. So I just went and found some previous ones that I had done and scheduled them to go live during the week of Carnage, and that was out.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Did you see it, by the way?
I did.
How was it?
It was fun. Nothing crazy, nothing that had like, oh my god, this was amazing. It is exactly sort of what you would expect.
Yeah,
Pretty straightforward in terms of plot, and very cool in terms of the fighting when they had it, and you know, it's not like Avengers Civil War or something like that where you're like, ooh, it's so deep and seeing and twists and turns and everything. Like you just
yeah.
got what you got.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
So, what are your big plans for the holiday? not to derail.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, uh, my goal is to try to have a few leftover commissions or people who got commissions at the very end of some shows.
Yeah,
Um, like sometimes people like are only there for like the Sunday, and
yeah,
they still want a commission and they're willing to like put money down for it. And so I was like, okay, but you got to understand that you know
yeah,
I'm not going to be able to get it when I have two, three, four shows in a row. And so
yeah.
there's like a small handful of those I'm just want to really get out, and then I have
Polish
some,
off.
yeah, polish that stuff off, and then I have some family.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I have a few very large pieces that
Yeah.
I'm finishing up. One is a massive sort of Atlantean piece.
Ooh.
It's actually a diptych. There are two pieces that kind of
Watch
go
your language.
together.
We're a family show here.
Yeah, I know. And then what else do I have? I have a huge bounty hunters piece from Star Wars.
Oh, nice.
That's a Yeah, that's another massive one. And yeah, I just have some odds and ends. Again, finishing off the year, so to speak. I'm trying to get to zero at the end of the year. So
Yeah, that would be my goal, but
things that come
I have a
close.
list of I have a list of people who are interested in them, and I just have to figure out how to handle that better in
Yeah,
the new year. Like they haven't paid or anything, so I'm like, okay, you're just on a list.
I have some that have paid that I
All the
need to
ones
get.
that have paid, I have to. I'm gonna try to those out.
You finished off all those?
There's like literally less than a handful.
Yeah, that
Um,
I'm kind of in the same boat.
yeah,
I don't have a ton that are paid for that have not been
yeah,
completed. There's a handful here and there.
yeah. If I
But
can,
yeah,
like,
that's always the goal, is to try and, like, make sure that your books are clear before the new year.
yeah. And also because the first quarter of the year, um, I am pretty. It's pretty barren of convention.
Yeah.
There's one that you and I are going to be doing in New Orleans,
Yep.
Early in the year, and then it's I have one a month, I think, until April.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
I
that's
have
stretching it
one.
because one of them is just a 1 day convention.
So the first 2 weekends of January, the one that I'm doing with you, and then the one after,
Mm-hmm.
I have conventions both of those weekends. The Lakeland, the
Oh,
Central Florida.
you're doing the
Uh,
Lakeland one.
yeah, that's the one that's right after New Orleans. So I have two back to back in January, and that's it until, like, I want to say May.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, it's weird that no all the cons that were typically like March and April
Yeah,
have all been pushed back to like August. Um, and I understand why, because they ended up happening in December. So,
right.
but it's a little tricky to try and navigate, like, the year's worth of conventions when your two biggest earners are now pushed back to, like,
Yeah,
mid-year.
yeah. Well, what is it? August, August through October is going to be are the biggest shows,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah,
have C2E2 in August, Emerald City in August. We have Dragon Con in September, and then New York Comic Con in October.
yep,
And not to mention any interstitial ones like Baltimore or
yeah,
Rose City, which are also solid conventions as well.
yeah. I'm not even
Um,
mentioning those.
yeah, so
So,
like within those 3 months, it's going to be
oh, it's, yeah, fun.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I'm also still going to limit this next year, like, which
yeah,
conventions I do, but not to get in too much into convention talk. But
yeah. Well,
yeah,
one of the questions I had for you, getting back into the kind of social media topic.
uh huh,
So obviously you've been really busy the
yeah.
past month and a half or so. You've been creating content. You've just been
Oh,
unable to
in
share it,
volumes,
right? You've been creating tons
volumes.
of it, unable
Yeah,
to share it in terms of because of contracts and the artwork is not released and you can't release it yet.
yeah. Is this too loud, by
How?
the way?
Nope. I think it's fine. Um, how do you are you creating? Are you taking like process photos? Are you saving those bits of content that you can be creating during like the last month and a half? And are you um, you have them organized and waiting for when you can release it that you'll have a big social media dump, right? Because it's just a delayed social media experience, and so to speak, right?
Yeah. I basically, some of that, yes. Um, Whenever you do stuff for publishers, you have to wait until things are released, and anything that's going to print usually has a lot of lead time to it.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're creating content, a lot of times you can't do anything with it for probably 3 to 4 months, and that's like minimum. Um, Things have to be printed. Things have to be going through and while it's being printed, it's going through a whole marketing phase
Mm-hmm.
where they're trying to figure out how to release it to the public and how they want to advertise. And
Mm-hmm.
throughout all of these periods, you're not allowed to do anything with it. You can't show it, can't display it, can't. Basically, it's kind of like a dead thing for you
Mm-hmm.
as an artist or a creator. Um, Sometimes they want you to kind of like show the process, but most of the time, especially with the larger publishers, they don't want you to show anything. They would rather have full control over how things are disseminated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the stuff, unfortunately, that I've been doing the most work for, mostly book and card publishers,
Mm-hmm.
they actually don't want you to show stuff. It's in your contract not to do it.
Even later
Um,
on.
Later on, I wait for them to give me the cue on when I'm
Right.
allowed to share
Right.
it. Even if it's released in the app, I try not to show anything until I get the okay from my editors, just because you do not want to step on anybody's toes, and you
Right.
definitely don't want to.
You want to
That's
ruin a
one of the few
marketing
things where
push.
like normally I'm a big fan of asking forgiveness, not permission, but when it comes to that, it's the other way around. I definitely ask first and then share whatever I can. The other thing is you don't want to bombard people with all the things. And unfortunately, all the stuff that I just did, I think, is all going to come out at the same time, like almost like at the same time, which is weird. So there'll be a book that's coming out. There'll be uh, cards that are going to be released. There's just a lot of things, and that's it's just it's the way the job works.
Right.
Uh, on top of that, I have personal projects which I can share, but I kind of want to get a little further on before I'm sharing them. So while
Yeah.
I could share things, I kind of don't
Mm-hmm.
want to. Um,
That's been my issue as well.
yeah,
That's what
that's
mine
exactly
is.
what you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah. So like for a lot of November, my month off, so to speak, from conventions, I was trying to work on my own creator own stuff, and I
yeah,
haven't quite released yet. It'll be coming soon, but I'm trying to get ahead, and once I get ahead, then I'll be able to start sharing it more. Because my I'm going to try to take advantage of the fact that I don't have that many shows in the next coming months, and trying to spread some of that stuff out. You know?
yeah. So Tony, what are you working on right now, by the way?
What am I working on? I am working. I'm doing an abominable snowman.
Yeah, say that 3 times
It's inspired from. I'm looking at the old claymation Rudolph the red-nosed
I
reindeer.
see that. I'm like,
Yeah,
that looks like that wonky dude.
yeah,
Is
that
that going to
wonky
be
dude.
like? Now, is this like a holiday thing? Like,
Yeah, this could be. If it
sure.
turns out good, it's gonna be a holiday thing. If it
Nice.
doesn't, then it's just a study
Inter-
and a sketch.
Tentative. Yeah. I'll tell you what. One of the things I loved about these last two conventions was
Mhm.
our Airbnb slash rooming experience. That was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. Um, it's getting a chance to like kind of forced to hang out and catch up.
Yeah,
It's because it was two separate things, right? I mean, like
right,
the
right.
experience in Seattle where we're both traveling away from home, and then in Chicago's my home city, so I'm staying in my own place, sleeping in my own bed, kind of a
Yeah,
thing. And so we didn't actually get to hang out as much as we wanted to.
yeah. Which was weird because I mean,
Yeah,
usually at conventions we're pretty much like
yeah,
hanging out the entire time.
yeah,
This was definitely the bizarre anomaly con, which is compounded that it's your hometown,
yeah,
um, which means that you have even more obligations around a convention just because you have tons of people coming up that know you from all walks of life.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I had old former students come up that I hadn't seen in years.
yeah,
That are just like kind of coming out of the blue. I'm like, oh, hey, um, you know, people have uh, take, I've taught with, former instructors were coming by, that I've seen stuff like that. So it was very former coworkers when I had a day job.
yeah.
uh,
No, everybody seems to want. I mean, that's how it was when we had used to have the conventions down in Baltimore, or the
yeah,
one that I used to go to at least.
yeah,
And yeah, it was always like everyone and their monkey's uncle would, hey, I haven't seen you. I was like, and I'd have this moment of like, I know you, but I don't
yeah,
know you,
yeah,
but I know you.
yeah.
And then it would dawn on me, oh my gosh, you were a client at my last job.
Oh yeah, though those are
Like,
always tough ones.
yeah, it's like, yeah. Yeah, I was wondering why I didn't see you at the holiday party. Well, yeah, I'm not even
Yeah,
in the state anymore. So
yeah.
there's that. Um, yeah, it was that con was a little different. Seattle was fun though. I mean, we got to stay with people we don't normally room with,
Yeah.
um, which is always good. And the cool thing about that is learning and trading like ideas and techniques and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Like when we all sat down to paint that one night, that was a ton of fun. I mean, we painted every night, but
Yeah,
there was one night in particular where everyone painted.
yeah.
Um,
No.
and yeah, it was good to have the takeaways of Tony introduced me to this fun little toy,
Yeah. So
just a watercolor airbrush that's portable.
yeah,
Uh,
well, it's an airbrush, and then how I started using it was a portable airbrush. It
yep,
was I found it was pretty cheap on Amazon. I was like, okay, well maybe I can use some airbrush. Uh, Initially, it was after I finish a piece, maybe I can hit those really put some acrylic on it, get those like white highlights or some special effects. They're always good for special.
yeah,
So after I got it, and I bought a whole bunch of airbrush acrylic paint, I realized it was a pain in the butt to keep clean. And so I had the bright idea to like maybe I can use watercolor in the airbrush instead of acrylics. What makes it easier to clean? And I started using
and
it, and it started speeding up the process and a lot of things, and then started using it at the conventions and whatnot. And the first time Dan saw me use it, he
oh,
was
I made
like,
fun of him.
he just made fun of me. He's like, "Why are you using a portable airbrush? Um,
Yeah,
what can you
it
do
was
with a
like,
portable airbrush that you can't do with a regular brush?"
yeah, which is actually, I mean, I will say this:
It's true.
you can do everything with a
Yes,
brush, like everything
everything.
can be done, but it does
But
speed up the process phenomenally.
yeah, it speeds up the process, and it
Yeah,
gives you a little bit of extra leeway as well. Um,
yeah,
you know, in terms of if you really just want it, you can create a soft graded wash. That's one of the first things you learn
yeah,
when you're doing uh, when you're picking up watercolors. You learn how to do a flat wash. You learn how to do a graded wash, and wet on wet, and all those things are great. And you can do that with a regular brush. But this little guy here really helps to like speed up some of that. You can just kind of
yeah.
fill it in. And so
No, it was
everyone was
definitely
just astonished
yeah.
at my discovery. And by the end of the convention, like five other artists instantly
It was
went and ordered it on
hilarious.
Amazon.
Yeah, it was like life altering for everybody.
Yeah. So if you're interested in it, I'll post up the link down below in the in the description once the stream is done.
I might also point out that it is only $70,
It is only 70
and
bucks.
if you're in the continental U.S., the thing arrives within like one
It'll arrive
day,
yesterday.
overnight, overnight.
You'll
Yeah,
order it and it'll come the day
it,
before.
it will be there tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so weird. Like I haven't like things that I've ordered that are literally in my backyard arrive later than this thing.
Yeah. So I was thinking about actually making I did in my own like cave of creation. Like I don't think that I never thought that like, oh, this little airbrush thing is going to be such a hit. But after the last two conventions and everyone going, what the hell is that? Part of me
Yeah,
is like, I need to make a social media post on this and just share the knowledge. You
yeah.
know.
No, not just the tools. It was also the techniques. Like I was
Yeah.
watching Jessica Levy, um, like how she was working,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to how Kit Steele was working, how you were
Mm-hmm.
working, how
Mm-hmm.
I was. Like we were all painting and drawing in completely different ways,
Yeah.
um, and it was really fun to like just be holed up in a room for a little bit in a studio type environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
That's definitely something I miss. You know, um,
yeah,
the
we didn't.
accumulated
So
creativity that just exists when you have a couple artists in the same room.
yeah, it was sad that we're all sitting there, we're all painting, and no one's even sharing anything. And it was mostly because we were just really in the zone about what we were doing and not even concerned about social media,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is super rare for all of us because we all kind of eat, live, breathe, die,
Yeah, social
with
media.
some of the social media stuff. So it was a big deal. I mean, it's definitely something that I need to be more cognizant of in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already sort of like mentally making preparations for my New Year's resolution
Oh
that
yeah, is it one of them
I'm
is going to be
totally
more
not.
consistent on your social media?
Yeah, I really do need to be.
Yeah.
Like I think one of
So
mine is going to be to make posts in advance, like
yeah.
far in advance, that I can use as like things in my pocket that I can post that
Mm-hmm.
will actually be new content and not
Mm-hmm.
old content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to sort of like build up an archive, so to speak.
And then you're going to join TikTok and do some dances and
Yeah, the
stuff
only
like
thing
that,
I
right?
won't be joining is TikTok because I. It's funny because I have a lot of people that have been asking me about TikTok, and I'm like, it's not going to happen. It's not for me. It comes down. So I know you've joined the TikTok, brigade,
Fandom, yeah,
and
yeah.
and the legions that are on there, which is all
Tony
great.
underscore
And
Moy
I'm
on
not.
TikTok.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, I am not in any way discounting like your social media presence on TikTok. I have a friend who has the largest following of
My
any of
following
my
is not that
friends.
huge on TikTok, but it grows.
Oh,
So
his
it's
is
all about
in
eyeballs, all about
massive.
percentages.
His is in like magazines, and he's getting sponsorships from everything, all because of his
Mm.
TikTok, and which is great. My problem with TikTok comes down to how many people buy things on TikTok,
Well,
and
mhm.
is it just eyeballs or is it actual people buying things, like
Well,
and users that are actually wanting to purchase things?
mhm.
Because most of TikTok's audience is in such a young bracket
It is.
that
It very much
it's
is.
not the bracket that buys larger format and larger ticket items.
Yeah.
So
Well, I look at it as sort of on a longer term sort of a thing as well. But I mean
they'll age out.
that's
Is that what you're saying?
well, that's a challenge of any social media, right? Like
It
how
is. It
are
is.
you just getting eyeballs or how do you monetize it, right?
Right. Right. And what is your goal with that
What is your
social media
goal
platform?
with it?
Yeah,
It's things like
that's the hard
Facebook
part.
and like Instagram is easier to see the results with because you and I are constantly getting DMs and messages about getting
Oh yeah,
commissions or things like that, or we make a post and we can see prints start, sales on our website or something like that go off.
yeah,
Um, so so those are ways that you can kind of see the monetization or what it means, right? But at the end of the
right.
day, it's also a numbers game, which is why you don't want to let your numbers slide on social media. If you're
Totally.
getting 1,000 likes on a post that you're getting, that's maybe that results in like 10 or 20 people that might get a print of that piece, right? Or
Right.
that might, I recently made a post on December 7th, um, which was Pearl Harbor, the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, and my upcoming project is about the Japanese Americans. So Pearl Harbor was a very important day on that. So I made a post on that day and specifically linked it to my Patreon, and I can easily tell which platforms. I did it on the three major platforms.
Yeah.
And I could tell that like, oh, my Facebook one definitely had like, I did that one in the morning, I did Instagram in the afternoon, and I did a Twitter in the evening, a tweet in the evening, and Facebook and Instagram were the ones that I increased. I got a couple new subscribers on my Patreon, so you kind of see
Yeah.
that, and I totally get for like like TikTok generally skews younger.
Yes.
But one of the things I was able to see when I posted a TikTok and then say that I'm gonna went back when I was streaming, I got to get back to streaming on Twitch. I can see like that there are people from TikTok that would transfer and follow me on Twitch, right, and be
Okay.
watching me on Twitch. They would come on and say like, "Oh, I found you on TikTok. Great, my TikTok's work increasing my Twitch." And then it's a percentage of like people on Twitch that eventually migrate to the Instagram or whatever else. And if I have a sale on Twitch or like, hey, you can buy this on my store, then that begins to translate a little bit. But it's all a numbers game.
Yeah.
Um, but at some
Again.
point, it's like, yes, these people are young now, but at some point they're going to be older. Because at one, how long have you been doing convention? 10 years?
Feels like
12?
it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people you've seen, and I've seen a lot of people like that we've known as kids now grown up,
Eh,
right?
not as many of those as you see the other way. Um,
What kids
well,
that
I'm
don't
just
grow up?
saying, like, yeah, I feel like I've seen more. I feel like it comes down to discretionary money.
Yes,
I know this is
it
like
is.
getting into like, the weeds of and the less sexy thing about art, and
Mm-hmm.
money is not everything, and I totally agree. But when you're trying to make a living doing it, I feel like money is always the thing that you have to have in the back of your mind.
Yep.
Um, I make something because I like it. And I think that if I like it, someone else will like it and potentially want to purchase it. And when it comes down to, something that I post on one of those younger social platforms,
Mm-hmm.
um, like at one point I looked at Vine. I mean, I examine every social media platform before I decide to either commit to it or not.
Right.
Instagram was actually something I was late to, believe it or not.
Oh, me too.
I mean, I was really late to
Oh,
Instagram,
really?
like an idiot. Yeah, like probably 2 or 3 years late. Um, and it was just because at the time it was all photo based, everything was square, and I was annoyed
Mm-hmm.
by the square format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
Um,
square format was annoying in the beginning. I was like,
yeah, and then Facebook bought it. It turned to a 4:3 ratio, and immediately it's like, okay, now you can do more with it. Um, Videos are no longer, squares, which no one takes video of. Um, so yeah, I mean, things evolve.
mm-hmm.
TikTok is going to evolve too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that will happen, and those who kind of got in on the ground floor or whenever it was in its infancy,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be able to take advantage of that if it doesn't get bought and turned into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is what happened to Instagram.
Right.
Just pointing it out. Instagram was bought by Facebook
Mhm.
and turned into something that it was not intended for at the beginning.
Right.
It now has ad revenue and all these other things built in features.
Mhm.
Does TikTok have ad revenue?
Yes,
Okay.
it can.
How does the ad revenue translate the way that it does? In other words, have you seen monetary value in putting up ads there?
I have not put up any ads on TikTok yet.
No.
Um, right now, like one of my reasons for joining TikTok, especially during the pandemic and quarantine, was that
Yeah.
growing your audience on Instagram, like the growth of my audience on Instagram slowed down tremendously uh, without conventions, right?
Yes.
Every convention you go to, when you
Right.
interact with
We see
people in a
we
public
see a
forum,
bump.
you see a
Yeah.
bump. Like you just
Yeah. No,
follow,
you're
follow,
right.
follow, 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 follow.
You're right.
And
Yeah.
during the pandemic, like it went from like, you know, 10% increase to like 1% every month, right? You're just
Yeah.
like,
No,
ah,
it definitely everybody took some sort of a hit because of it. No, and I
right.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for that, one of the reasons why then I started exploring TikTok was just like on the pure numbers game of just getting eyeballs, right? And if it's 0.5% of people on TikTok, then find me on something else.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more growth. I was getting uh, hundreds of new followers, and on a weekly basis sometimes. To on Instagram, I'd be like, hey, if I got 10 new followers that week, that was great. That was a great week during the pandemic.
Right.
So it's definitely some of that you're looking into, and now that we're getting YouTube, we're having people at conventions that are saying like, oh, I watch you guys on YouTube. Like, oh, that's great. It's just another avenue to social media,
Yeah.
where people, and it's a numbers game whether or not they actually buy a print or whatever else. Um,
No, I got you. I mean,
yeah.
I think for me, um, when the average audience on TikTok just slides up a little bit, which it's
Yep.
doing gradually.
It is.
Gradually, the
It is
average
doing.
age is actually increasing. When it gets to a threshold, in the mid 20s, is when I will actually be like, okay, um, and I'll probably start a TikTok sometime around
Yeah.
then. Right now, most of the people that I end up selling work to and the people
Oh
who
yeah, yeah.
look at my stuff, it's a slightly older crowd. So
When we're selling pieces of art in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. Yeah.
exactly, like it's out of their price range. Like most of them, I should say. There are the anomalous
I have
ones.
sold like I think I sold a $150 piece of art off of TikTok. They contacted me like buy it.
TikTok, you have made a
Yeah,
sale on
yeah. I
TikTok.
have made a sale on
Most
TikTok.
most of the people I talk to,
Yeah.
that's not the case.
I made a $150 art sale on TikTok.
Okay, all right,
Plus some prints I know that came from it, but like
yeah,
um, we have Darren Smith that says, get a pipeline of all your previous artwork and any other recordings you might have. Create a post on schedule. Let the constant plug and post your let the constant plug and post grow your audience. So
yeah.
he's kind of saying be consistent.
Yeah, and posting constantly definitely will increase, your audience. Like that's kind of how I grew mine was just,
Mm-hmm.
repetition. If you ever need to build your audience back after a long hiatus, I've learned how to do it over doing it a couple times.
Yeah.
The primary thing is to post daily.
Mm-hmm.
Like right after you get, over whatever sort of, hiatus you needed to take, post
Do
on
you,
a regular basis, like every single day.
do you do any
Um,
tools for that, or is that just you setting an alarm on your phone and being like, okay,
well, the other thing is be consistent about the time of day that
yeah,
you do it. Don't do it in like randomly at different times. Post almost on the same time every single day because people will start to like remember that. But more than that, the algorithm will remember that. They actually do like it when you become something that is regular that they can depend on. Believe it or
I mean,
not.
along with that is to determine when is do some experiments and determine when your audience happens to be on
Right.
the most. You can get that
Which,
information
right.
off of Instagram, and
If you have a business account,
if you have a
yes.
business
Um,
account, you
if you have a
tools.
business account on Instagram, this I guess is another thing we should get into. So online presence is different for different types of users. So if you have a business account, if you're an artist that has classified themselves as a business, you are afforded tools that you don't normally have with just a standard Instagram account. Same thing goes with Facebook. You have Facebook Business, and then Facebook, which has like its own suite of things. Um, you also have metrics that you can't see, you know, that are invisible to most users on Instagram because they just don't care. They just want to, cool
Mm,
story, bro. I just want to see the next image. Cool story. Yep,
right.
next image. Like they don't care. Um, so one of the things that you have to kind of determine is at what point are you at the level that you need to switch over to a business
Mm,
account. It doesn't cost anything, mind you. The business account is free. Anyone
right.
can do it. Um, there are certain things that are not available to all business accounts until you reach certain thresholds.
Yeah, you have to have a
So,
certain number of followers
yep,
before things
your
open.
follower count has to be above a certain number before they will allow you to have access to certain tools like putting links in posts, putting, you as you reach new tiers, new things are unlocked. And the
Mm.
sad part is, they don't tell you what those tiers are.
You have to rely on hearsay.
Yeah, well, some of it is hearsay. Some of it is actually if you do enough research and
Right.
figure it out, you can figure out
You can
where the
figure it out.
thresholds are. Like 15K is a threshold if you have users.
10K is the first threshold, I think.
That's the first one.
Yeah.
The second one is 15. Those two are the biggest thresholds for most Instagram users because you get functionality that's actually useful at that point. Below that, it's actually hard. It's not hard. It's tough because you can no longer sales can't really be generated as easily without those two thresholds that are met.
Right.
I mean, that's something that they probably won't tell you, but I'll tell you. I don't care. it's it's really hard if you haven't met those two thresholds. Um, Once you hit those thresholds, it's almost like your audience grows itself. Like technically speaking, not posting, you can kind of afford to do for a while. It doesn't really impact you in some ways because your follower count doesn't really drop. In fact, it grows without you even doing anything. I know it sounds weird, but if you have built up enough posts, you can actually get traffic without you even trying. Um, your former posts will suddenly become something people will gravitate towards and find organically. They're not going to be something that you have to do work for.
Mhm.
Um, like I still get traffic even though I haven't posted anything in a while.
Yeah.
Uh, and you will find that you don't have to be quite as intense about posting once you hit a certain level. Um,
Yeah, same thing with like the amount of like tagging that you do on it, right?
yeah,
At
yeah,
some point, you know, your cumulative account has been sort of tagged with stuff that you do. Like they pretty much know Dan and
yeah,
I post artwork,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Nerdy artwork, nerdy fantasy, comic, fan art, artwork, whatever. We're on that range. So no matter what we post, there's already a certain like knowledge in the Instagram and Facebook AI that goes, okay, it's probably this. We're going to introduce it to people who
Right.
already enjoy this sort of stuff.
Yeah. You like
So
watercolors? Hey,
yeah,
there's a dude who does that. You
yeah.
know.
So we don't always have to tag it as like, oh, it's watercolor. Oh, it's watercolor. Oh, it's watercolor. But if you're trying to grow, that all that tagging stuff is important to be consistent to
Right.
and finding the right
Yeah.
tags.
Tagging is. I mean, tagging will always be helpful.
Yeah.
You should always tag
Right,
your
right, right.
posts. Um,
But
but yeah, you don't have to be as judicious with it. My phone is tilted a weird way.
should put a Santa hat on him. Too late now.
Me. Oh, you're going to?
I a little bit too late. I know.
Yeah, he's got crazy eyes, man.
He does.
Like seriously, it's like super creepy.
That we'll figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
I literally was just kind of like sketching and doodling without much consideration of like
I'm like,
what I was doing.
I'm like, dude, your holiday card's scary.
Some people like that.
Oh look what we got in the mail. Ah, I'm kidding.
I could do a Krampus.
Oh, there you go. Actually, I'd be like, cool. My son would be like, why does Santa have horns?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did the big bad wolf eat Santa? Yes, that happened. It's
So,
canon.
so has all your Christmas shopping been handled?
Oh God, no. Thank you. Two conventions back to back right before the holiday. That was
Uh-huh.
awesome. Yeah. No,
But
I now for the most part I would say yes, but I have so much family. It's not even funny.
oh,
Um, so me finding like everything for everyone is kind of like a nightmare. Um, Inevitably I miss someone and I end up like, like visiting and being like, "Hey, what's up?" in March.
mhm.
Here's your super belated Christmas present. Um, yeah, I have too much family. There is such a thing. When it gets to the point where you are one of five, and then they have like four kids each, like it gets way out of control really fast.
You ship presents and stuff like that, or is
Oh,
it
we
just
have
who
to.
you
Yeah.
see? Oh, so you do.
No, no, no. Yeah. So our general rule is we only get gifts for the kids,
Uh-huh.
which sounds good on paper, but I have a sister that has six kids. And I have five siblings. I'm sorry, six siblings. So it gets nuts, you know? I mean, and they all have like multiple children. It just gets so out of control. And then it's like you got to get your parents' gift, and you have two sets of those.
Right.
Uh, it's just everything is just so, yeah.
My,
And as
my
an artist, as you know, it
oh yeah.
gets a little bit trickier because they all want art. And you're just like, oh my God, of all the times to want art, the holiday is the worst possible time that you could want art from me. Um,
Yeah.
you feel my pain?
Oh, I feel it. Right. I have one that I have to see if I can get done before Christmas.
I have yeah. My brother yesterday, Michael, if you're listening, I love you, bro. Sent me photos of what he wanted me to put on what of a piece he wanted me to do for Christmas, and I'm like, I'll make it happen, but dude,
Dude, why?
dude, like, come on.
Why do you hate me?
Yeah. And he even asked, is it too late for this? Like, tell me if it's too late. It's all good. I was like, it's okay. I'll do it. You want to make them happy, but at the same time, you're dying a little bit inside. It's like I miss sleep. Sleep's so fun.
hmm Yeah. So sleep was something that was tough to come by during the last two conventions.
I slept the least amount I have ever done at a convention
We have it.
in Chicago. Chicago was literally the
Yeah.
absolute worst for my sleep schedule. Um,
I
Yeah, dude.
average just over 3 hours of sleep each night. I think you were under 3 hours of sleep each night.
Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad.
Did you sleep on
That
the plane?
no, bizarrely, I think I hit like a 15th wind.
Oh yeah,
That's even a thing. And it just got so like I was just so punch drunk
yeah.
at one point. The guy next to me was so funny. He was like he kept nodding off, and I kept like kind of loosely nudging his arm.
Uh-huh.
It was just because he would nod off and he would start snoring.
Oh,
And it was all good until he started snoring, and I was like, "All right, you're not gonna sleep. If I'm not gonna sleep, you're
you're
not
ain't
gonna
sleep.
sleep." Yeah, I was like, so anytime he started to hit that like super REM cycle, I
Hmm.
would just give him just the right amount of nudge to like wake him up enough.
What a jerk.
I know I'm a total asshole, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with it. I couldn't handle snoring; it was rubbing me the wrong way.
Misery loves company. That's what that was.
Sure.
I can't sleep. Neither can you.
Yep. So yeah, no, that con broke me a little bit. I was telling that to the commissioner that was wondering where his art was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of pieces I need to scan. This is my holiday print for this year that I have not had 5 seconds to even touch. And
Hmm.
it dawned on me that I have to actually get this printed tomorrow because I leave town the next day.
You need to try to ship it
And
out.
and I'm trying to get it printed and shipped tomorrow. Like it is the most last minute card I've ever or print that I've ever done. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Usually, I get
usually
your holiday prints like a couple
I
weeks
know it's
before.
gonna be it's gonna be right on time this year. We'll call it that. Right on time. So I think the other thing that's really kind of made it tough this year has been my son's age. He's at that point where he's he's playing soccer and we're doing sports stuff and
Mhm.
it's like it's a lot of like once you hit a certain age with kids you literally are just a chauffeur. You are constantly doing things like taking them to this, that, and the other thing because they can't drive.
Right.
um, so we have hit that zenith of we are now drivers. um,
Do you have do you have a separate calendar just for him?
oh gosh, yes.
Google
um,
Calendar.
yeah, well, his calendar is actually the main calendar. His is the one that everything sort of revolves around. And then secondary calendar would be my travel schedule, which is
Mhm.
thankfully it's wound down to nothing. I'm so glad that this year's like convention travel is now wrapped up.
Wait, when do you get home for from Portland?
Portland.
Before or after
Uh,
Christmas?
I get home before. I think we arrived back on the 20th.
Okay,
I think. Yeah, it's a short trip out there, but because it's for a wedding.
got it.
Um, so we're not there for too long, but yeah.
Okay, I thought you were out there for a couple weeks. I was gonna be like,
No, no, no,
is it gonna
no.
be
It's a
the
short
next Speed
jaunt,
Pro is gonna
and
be a remote one?
yeah, right. No, I am going to. Funny enough, I do plan while I'm out there to work my butt off. Though I'm bringing tons of work, and the Airbnb that was rented because it's not technically in Portland. We're kind of on the outskirts.
Oh, okay.
The Airbnb that was rented for it is um, kind of remote. Like
Mm,
it's off in the middle of nowhere. So I'm really looking forward to that. Like I'm a
nice.
little too excited about that. Like I'm like, yes, I have a captive audience with me and my paper. And it's going to be cold, so no one here in Florida is going to even want to go anywhere. Um,
Stay
of
in.
course, that well, we do have one scheduled trip, which is Finn has never seen snow. So we have a trip to Mount Hood to go tobogganing, and um, we plan on doing all sorts of snow activities for one of the days.
Nice.
Uh, so yeah,
You,
that's
you, you,
that's
you have
pretty much.
like gloves and winter gear for him and everything. You have to be
Oh,
ready.
snow pants. Yeah. Like literally, he's gonna be dressed like Nanook of the North for no good reason at all. As someone who used to live in that kind of environment, it is
Uh-huh.
you don't need all that crap.
I,
Like
I,
he's
I
so
know, but I'm just curious because you're all like Floridians.
yeah, yeah. I know better. The others do not. So they're dressing like polar bears. Um, like literally, it's like here's the earmuffs. I was like, dude, seriously, earmuffs? Are you kidding me right now? Like no one wears earmuffs. Wear a hoodie or something. Like come on, earmuffs. It's like 1970 or something.
All right. The 10-day weather forecast for Portland has you dipping no less than 40 degrees.
Exactly. There's not gonna be snow until we go up to Fort Mount
Yeah,
Hood. Is
yeah,
the
yeah,
only place
you have
that
to
has
go
snow.
into the mountains to see the snow.
Exactly.
Those earmuffs are going to
I,
be useless.
totally useless. I know that. I know that. And yeah, you know what I know. Like
And
we were just there, literally a
we
week ago.
were in
Exact same
Portland's
environment. Yeah.
Portland, south of Seattle.
I would even say that honestly, Seattle's weather was nicer than Chicago's.
Hmm. I'd say so.
Like
It,
Chicago's
it, it
was
was it was a little bit
actually,
more cloudier though.
maybe
Yeah.
minor, but yeah, it was definitely not nearly as intense. So yeah, it'll be what it'll be. I'm I'm looking forward to it. I'm also like so exhausted from travel, and the idea of going into another 3 hour time zone is kind of like, oh man, this is gonna be rough. So, um, going right back to the topic though at hand, I figured, what is your biggest audience that you currently have?
um, Instagram most likely.
Yeah. Would you say that Instagram is also your biggest earning audience? In other words, like the audience that you could point to that you have gotten or received the most business from?
Um,
Because I feel like that might not actually be the case. Um, for me, I would
might be
say,
Facebook
yeah, I know that's the thing. For a lot of people, I think it's actually Facebook.
because it skews
I
older
know,
for sure, right? I mean,
yeah,
and,
Facebook definitely skews older.
and also you the thing with Instagram, you're sort of dehumanized, I guess. You're just and on Facebook you are a person, right? You're a person that does stuff. Whereas on Instagram, when you
Yeah,
post, I think people see you more as like, oh, you're an account, right? Unless they know you, you know what I'm saying?
right.
You're just, oh,
No, you're right. That's valid.
yeah.
And it's interesting though to see the distinction, even though they're owned by the same
Oh yeah, yeah.
same
It is very
overlords and
different.
everything,
Yeah.
but they definitely have very different. The demographics are different.
Hmm.
There are people on Facebook that are not on Instagram.
Yes.
Um, like I'm constantly talking to commissioners about, oh yeah, well most of the stuff I'm posting is on Instagram, and they're like, yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah, but
Um,
there's also things like groups are available. I think that
yeah,
helps. That's a big thing. Like you got watercolor groups, art groups, things like
yeah,
that kind of share that are very targeted, right? That you don't really have on
yeah.
Instagram. You know.
I would also point out that with Instagram versus Facebook, you have the added thing of you have people that are not on either of those platforms.
Mhm.
Like there are people that can do YouTube, but they won't
Right.
do either of the social media platforms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That was one of the things I noticed in this more so in this round of conventions
yeah,
was that people were like, oh, because you're at the table, and one of the things to say, like, if you like what you see here, you always feel welcome to follow me online and keep up. And it seems like at these shows, like maybe more people came out that weren't on social media, but like I get people that would say, "Oh, I'm not on any of the social media." I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
felt lucky that I could say, "Well, I know everyone's on YouTube. We also have this YouTube channel. You should check out the YouTube channel." And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
I'm on YouTube." You know,
Right.
they don't really
I would
consider it a
always.
social media thing, but it is.
Yeah. That was always kind of like crazy to me to hear that kind of stuff. Like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'll do that, but I won't do the other. And it's like,
yeah.
what? On one hand, you're dumbfounded, but on the other hand, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense, I guess.
yeah, and so it's good that we can kind of say that now
Yeah.
as a response to the people who are like, yeah, I'm not on social media at all.
Yep.
Oh, but the thing with Facebook and like there are a couple groups that you and I are
Yes.
partially in that if we wanted a commission this week, I
We.
can go on that. I
Right.
could go on those groups and be like, hey, I am open for commissions,
Here's the
and
deal.
we would get a slew of commissions that would come.
Yeah.
And
And
so it's
we've done
very
that.
targeted. And we
We
have.
have done that before,
Mhm.
and that's something that you can't really say with
Any other
Instagram doesn't work the same way. You're
Instagram
right.
doesn't work the same way. Twitter doesn't work the same way. Like,
You also in those groups will get people that will literally come to your like. They'll be like, "Dude, he's a stand-up guy, and
yeah.
totally,
Oh yeah.
and that's the thing you don't see in any
Yeah.
of
They,
the
they,
other
they, they will
social
Yelp
media.
you. They'll give you like a positive Yelp review in that.
Totally, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I have to say Facebook is probably
Yeah, I would say that my biggest audience socially is on Instagram, but I would
yes.
say that from an earning standpoint, my
Hmm.
biggest is probably it's kind of a 50-50 split between
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people that are international
Hmm.
that aren't on Facebook.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing that I think kind of sets it apart for me.
I'll,
Um,
I'll, I'll I'll toss another one out there
what's that?
that I know, but Reddit.
Yeah. No, Reddit's kind of 50-50. I get traffic from Reddit. I don't get
Yes,
sales from
I
Reddit.
agree.
Um,
But traffic at some point,
yeah, but it's harder to quantify
it
unless
is. It
it
is
is a
incredibly difficult.
unless you get a track back that is
Hmm.
specifically targeting that particular Reddit post or something along those lines. It's really hard to see whether or not that's where that sale came from. Um, which makes it tough. I mean, the other ones that are kind of like that are like DeviantArt. Like I have a
Yes.
huge audience on DeviantArt, like 7 or 8 thousand strong. I don't, I have not posted there in 2 years,
Hmm.
but I still have a huge audience that's on there. I don't post there mostly because it's
They're starting
again
to make a comeback.
they're
Yeah,
they're
they're
making
making a lot of
strides.
effort. They're making a lot of
They
effort,
are,
which is
and I
crazy.
feel the
I
thing
thought
is
they
I've
were about
actually
to die.
met so hilariously I've actually met people from that particular I've met DeviantArt folk and they've even bought art of mine,
Hmm.
which is like something I can't say of any of the other social media platforms.
Hmm.
Um, but it's always like an audience of I get emojis for anytime I post art. It's not an actual conversation. It's not anything that I feel like I can engage with them. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm. No, no, no. I hear you, but it's also not that quantifiable thing.
Yeah.
That quantifiable number is tough
Yeah.
sometimes to just be the sole predictor of whether or not you do something because um, one of the things that I always say when it comes to social media and like new artists and things like that is like you got to start growing it because you never know when you need it, and when you realize you
Oh,
need it,
color.
it's going to be
Yeah.
too late, right?
Yeah.
You know,
There
like
is there is a
if I'm
point.
doing a
Yeah.
Kickstarter, right, and you know, there's a chance that posting that Kickstarter or something of that posted on like Reddit, even though
Yeah.
that's never been a big thing, can can do wonders. You know,
No, you're
even though
right. You're
it
right.
doesn't directly
Yeah.
interact.
You can't quantify it now, but it's
Right.
something that might pay off later. And
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. 100%.
So
Um,
yeah. But speaking of New Year's resolutions, that is going to be one of my New Year's
what's that, Reddit?
resolutions. Is to be more methodical, I guess.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Because you know my create your own thing is going to be starting next year, and I have
Oh, you have to be. Yeah.
yeah, I have to be, and I think I can, because it's so new, I can kind of sort of track growth to a very specific. And for me right now, it is how many people are reading it, right? Because it's going
Right.
to be an online comic, and so like, hey, I'm going to post here.
Numbers. Yeah.
How you know how do these numbers and our past history of being in web analytics and stuff like that, hopefully
Yeah.
it's gonna be helpful.
Oh, it'll definitely help out big time. I mean, I've already I've individual things that you and I have sort of done in the past. I've seen
Yeah.
tons of, if I'm so glad and appreciative of the knowledge base that I have based
Oh
upon
yeah,
my
absolutely.
career. Like I would definitely be in a worse way if I did not know all the things that I know now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or be able to problem solve in the correct way, right? You know, like be like,
oh, it's
okay,
totally, well, problem solve, but
yeah,
also it's just, yeah, you're right. Problem solving is probably what it is. It's like, okay, why am I not getting this? I
mm-hmm.
should be. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, let me see if let me tweak my SEO and make sure
Yeah,
that everything's actually like behaving the way it should be. And,
mm-hmm.
and sure enough, it's some dumb thing that I had, checked off.
Right.
Um, so yeah, but you're right. It's tricky. I almost like the thing that I would say, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to an artist about social media that was getting started right off,
I was getting started right off.
like right
Don't
now? Yeah. How would you say they should behave from day one?
don't worry about trying to make sure that every post is perfect.
That's a good piece of advice.
Right? Like I
Yep.
think that sometimes they're like, oh, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
I don't have any finished. I don't have a lot of. It takes me so long to make finished pieces. It's like it's
Right.
not all
Yeah.
about the finished pieces. You could post.
Seriously, I'll bet you're the same way. Half of my most popular posts are actually process pics.
Oh yeah.
Like that actually gets almost more engagement than the finished work, and it
Hmm.
does get more engagement
It
than some of
does.
the finished pieces.
Yeah. I
So
remember what you know. I post a lot of watercolor. I spend a lot of time thinking about and deliberating like color palettes and you know color schemes and things like that. We both do with like lighting and chef. And I remember when one of my most popular things of the year was an ink sketch of a crow that I did. This was a couple
yeah,
of years ago. I was just like, what the hell? This went like several thousand likes and a bunch of new. I'm like,
yeah,
it's a crow that I did with pen and ink. Like it was
yeah,
probably one of the only pen and ink things I post
yeah. It's
out.
like I
You
don't
know,
even do. It's like I'm a
it
watercolor
wasn't even
guy.
Arttober. It was just like a random thing I just kind of did. I'm like, post it. So you never know what's gonna potentially kind of go crazy or
Yeah.
go nuts. But two, not everything needs. You don't always have to make perfect posts.
Nope.
You know, it's a numbers
So
game if anything.
here's another thing that I would say is also like, so I see a lot of we 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 follow a lot of professionals.
Yes.
And with a lot of professional accounts, you will see finished posts,
Yeah.
not process posts. And the
Yeah.
reason that they do that most of the time is because they have noticed that their unfinished stuff goes super viral. and then that's what people are being like, yeah, his work looks a little unfinished.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't want to cultivate that. They want the things to be cultivated, to be
Mm,
pieces that they have really taken to the final stage.
right.
and and it's one of those, like, sort of almost like
Be
it's
careful what
almost
you
like a
ask for.
way to
Yeah.
tell whether it's a professional or a non-professional by how
Mm.
much of that you see.
Well, I think when
um,
you get into the later stage of being a professional, your
yeah,
social media is also your portfolio,
yeah, exactly.
right? And so if you're like, if you're working with a new AD and something else, or you've sent in a portfolio and you're starting a conversation with someone that you met, they're going to look at your social media probably first thing, right? Before
Oh,
they
totally.
actually go to your website and type that in and see
Yeah,
like your website portfolio. So on on that level, when you see these big time professional artists, that's also sort of the reason why. But when you're first starting out, like, don't worry about it.
yeah, nobody cares.
And it's about that quantity, because when someone comes to your new profile, like, oh, I like this artwork, and what do they do? If they really like it, they go to your profile, and if
Yep.
they really like you, they go back into your history and they like a whole bunch they bullet like it, right? Like a machine gun like.
Right. I know, I love those.
Yeah, and if you don't have
I
enough back there, then they're like, oh, this is not a professional guy, or this account isn't, you know,
It's too noob.
yeah, it's too
Yeah.
new. It only has like 6 posts. They're really
Yep.
great, but they're only 6.
Yeah, it's like, okay, come back in a little while when
Yeah,
have more stuff.
yeah, yeah. And you've lost them. How about you? Is there a tip for the
um
new artist that you would give?
New artist tip. Well, I would agree
New
with
social
yours.
media.
First off, I would definitely say don't hesitate to post stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's the killer of actually getting any work done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not doing anything. Uh, I would say my other piece of advice would be, um, post what you like, not what you think everyone's going to like.
Good one.
In other words, post what you really enjoy. Don't
Mm-hmm.
post things because you think it's the thing everyone's going to go crazy over.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wrong reason to post anything.
Yeah.
Um, like, you will always every time I've been like, I'm going to post this because I know that it's going to go crazy and everyone will love it.
And it
That
doesn't.
has always backfired, and always, like, right in my face, so bad. Every single time that's happened. So I don't even post anything like that anymore. Um, so enjoy your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that's what's going to keep you posting more. If you feel like you
Yeah.
have to post something because they're expecting X or Y or Z from you, then it's gonna become more like a arduous task a lot quicker, right?
Yeah.
Then, like, oh well, I already painted this or drew this or created this anyways. Might as well post it up, um, rather than, oh, I have to spend hours to create something just so I have something to post.
Indeed. Uh, I would also say, I mean, what would be your favorite social platform in terms of someone that was just getting started? What would you urge them to start with?
I mean, it would probably be Instagram. It,
Yeah.
it's 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 simple enough to kind of get out there. You have an opportunity to get, you know, like, people can follow you on Instagram without you having to follow them and friend them back. Like
I agree.
Facebook, you have to there's a connection that has to exist,
Yeah.
or you have to create in order to become Facebook friends, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to find you as easily on Facebook if you just post stuff on Facebook. Twitter, I think it's while there's a good chance for you to go viral a lot easier.
Hmm.
I also think it's
Sterile.
the wild west on on
Yeah.
Twitter. You know,
Twitter's my least favorite platform.
yeah, like
It, It's funny. I at one point I was like gonna be, super like, yeah, Twitter all the way, but no,
Yeah.
I actually it's the one I loathe.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't care. I'm not a fan of Twitter. Uh,
Twitter for me is a bit more of like a task that I have to like check and do a little bit on.
it feels like work.
It does.
Like Twitter,
It
like
completely
everything
does.
else
Right.
doesn't feel like work. Twitter
Yeah.
feels like work. The other thing that I guess I would say is Instagram tends to have like it's image based. That's its
Yes.
entire
Yep.
shtick. They
Yep.
don't have the same politics and things like that that you have to really navigate
Yeah,
or
with
not
everything else.
navigate
Right.
on Facebook.
Right. No,
Um,
no one cares if you're vax or anti-vax.
yeah, exactly. Who
Right.
gives a fudge?
That's a conversation.
Unless your art is all over that,
Yeah. Then by all
that's a
means go
different
for it.
story. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I would say Twitter or Instagram is top choice, and Facebook would be my number two. But with Facebook, it's interesting. So I go back and forth about my business account on Facebook. On
Mm.
one hand, I like it. On the other hand, I hate it. I hate it because it separates your messaging.
Yes. Your
Um,
personal to professional kind of a thing.
yeah, it is so annoying how your messaging suddenly becomes like a tough, and it doesn't make things easier. It makes it harder.
Yeah.
If they commingled it and just had a separate tab, it would be 10 times easier. But no, they don't do that. Instead, you have a separate business suite that you have to navigate to that's really clunky and is clearly something
Yeah.
that they're trying to merge the Instagram and the
Mm-hmm.
Facebook sort of businesses together. And it feels like they're just fighting each other. Um, that's the one negative that I have with their business side.
I agree. Trying to integrate all that stuff, like integrate
Oh, it's
your
a pain in the ass. I
Instagram,
hate it.
basically your business Facebook account, and all
Yep.
that is arduous.
So yeah, that's but those would be the two I would start with.
Mm-hmm.
You growing those two audiences are step one. Step two would probably be making your plan
Yeah.
for posting. Like it's always good to have a plan when you're starting off. Like I'm gonna do this every Monday, Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or
Mm-hmm. Or
once a
how are you
day
going
I'll
to
post
create
something.
content, right? Like what are you
Exactly,
doing
but
to create content?
yeah, figure it out for yourself though. Everybody has a different sort of game plan. Make a game plan.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
here we go.
What types of posts? Find the tags that you want to be prominent in.
Yeah, and be consistent with it.
Overall, at the end of the day, it's basically
Yeah, consistency is really the key to all of this. Um, like finding
and,
the ability to keep doing the same things.
and the irony is not lost that we're talking about consistency on an episode where we took a month and a half hiatus.
Yeah, exactly. It is hilarious. I mean, it's really funny. Yeah, be social.
Be social.
Both
Go online.
both of you
Be
watching,
consistent.
please be
Yes,
social.
literally, it's both of you. Oh,
But it's true. Like you have to like you will quickly lose your audience if you drop off of social media, and then it's a struggle to get it back.
yeah.
Um,
And don't worry about that low. When you're first starting off, too, seeing like, oh, you got 3 likes. I remember those days. I'd be
oh,
excited for
everybody
like
does do that.
10
Yeah.
likes. I remember being excited the first time I had triple digit likes and stuff like. And then now
Yep.
it's just like, oh, whatever. Like you gotta make it through that. Even when I was streaming on Twitch, I remember streaming to an empty room
Oh,
and just being like pretending to talk to someone out there and talking
that
about
stuff's
things and whatever
it's
else.
really
It's so
it's
awkward.
super super like demoralizing when you see, your efforts being just like nothing,
Yeah.
no engagement, no nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally every single person has gone through it.
Hmm.
So don't think that you're the only one that's experiencing that, and that, and also don't think you're supposed to be the big breakout viral hit.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other side of the coin. It doesn't work that way. That's not what this is all about. It everything takes time,
Yeah.
and in
There's always
particular,
an exception, and very rarely are you the exception.
yeah. I mean, if it does, that's awesome, and
Yes.
congrats. You were the anomaly. Um,
Uh,
I mean, we all know some of the anomalies, but it's,
mm.
again, that's rare stuff.
Yeah. In like Instagram streaming where we were doing that, like the first couple we were like, okay, there's like two people, one person watching a stream, and then they left. Right. We have an empty room.
Yep, 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 yep.
But without all this social media stuff, though, man, being an
We wouldn't have
artist,
jobs.
we wouldn't have. It'd be so difficult.
Well, I mean, it would honestly be impossible. Like,
Yeah.
the only way that I get work is through social media. The only way
Hmm.
that I mean,
Oh, me definitely.
nowadays it's not as bad, but
Yeah.
I mean, at one point that was the only way I was getting work.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I'm there now, but for the longest time, that's where I was.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know a creative business model that can start off without dealing with social media,
Yeah.
right? You may get to a point where you have to worry about it less or something like that. That's great. But if outside of working for a large studio or something like that on a creative level, like if you're an independent freelance artist on some level, you gotta crack that social media. Oh.
Yep.
How you doing on time?
I was just looking at that and messaging people. There is a child pickup that needs to happen, so I actually got
Gotcha.
to get going.
All right.
Um,
Well,
yep.
catch us all on social media where we're really, really active on. If you have any questions, leave your comments and post down below. Comments and questions
Yes,
down below.
we will be sure to answer everything.
And
Um,
we'll be getting back onto our weekly
we're
streaming
gonna, yeah,
schedule and
the
probably sneak a
regular.
couple extra ones in there too to make up for lost
Yeah,
time.
exactly, exactly. We will definitely be back in the swing of things after this craziness.
Yeah. So,
So, and we will
I,
also be really, really good about promoting our show.
yes. This one we just hopped on. We're like, we didn't
We
promote it
did one.
yet.
But it's like, it doesn't matter. Let's just do it. We got to get back on the
Yeah.
saddle. All right.
My
Thank you,
abominable.
everybody, for
Yeah.
watching.
And we
And
will see you next week.
indeed.
All right. Take
All
care,
right. Take
everyone.
it easy.